All right, Ray, I just wanted to run through this property with you. Smaller homes are really tough to shoot. So when you have a 17 millimeter lens, it's such a narrow focal point. It's such a narrow focal length that it's tough to shoot. So we'll have to figure something out for the shoots going forward. So there's a lot of things I saw at this one that I know that we can improve on. So we already touched base about the exterior photos. Just a quick reminder, man, before you start anything in the house, if you could just prep the house. I know you're still fairly new to the game, so when you see this, if you can just take that off and then remember to put it on before you go, that's really gonna help your team out. It's gonna help us editing. It's gonna save us so much time with something that's so easy to take care of there. So always prep the house. I saw this Cheeto bag. I mean, we're not doing video, but if we were, I would need this out of the way. You know, I wouldn't want to shot with this. So it's important that we prep whatever we can. So we already touched base about the car. So remember, I pay for every photo that gets done. So these photos right here, there's just no way that I can send these out because I'll just keep it real with you, man. On a real estate professional level, it's just too embarrassing. I wouldn't be able to send this out to my clients. So I can't do those angles. The car always has to be out of it. So I noticed that for your style, for your shoots, you always shoot with this entryway shot showing all parts of the door frame. As you saw, I usually crop it. If I'm gonna show part of the door, it's usually gonna be this part right here. I like this shot, but the main money shot that I'm usually looking for is gonna be, like I mentioned before. So I need the camera touching this corner right here, pointed diagonally this way and this way. That way you're gonna get this wall corner, you're gonna get this wall corner, and you're gonna probably cut off right here, but you're gonna have these vertical lines. That way, your small lens, you're utilizing it. So that's the key to what I wanted to touch base on, is utilizing your focal length to the maximum to maximize the space. So for this one, I'm not gonna Photoshop this out of the way, but I'm not happy about this right here. So you didn't know, but next time, just take care of it. We never wanna see this type of stuff. It's a builder's permit. You can take it off, don't be afraid to. Just remember to put it back on. As long as you remember, you'll be okay. And as long as you follow the system, it's gonna make sure that you remember. So for stuff like this, remember what we talked about even composition? So this is an uneven composition. So it's kind of wall heavy on both sides, and I don't know where the 3 vertical lines are. So the last vertical line is over here, and then there's so much space over here that it's unbalancing the actual composition. So the right thing to do was, first, the camera's not where it's supposed to be. If the camera was here, you would have got a lot more space. But I just know that you were probably standing right here, and then you're standing here, and then the camera's standing here. If you're gonna shoot photos, at least for the OVM shoots, remember, you're at a disadvantage with your focal length. So literally the camera has to be touching this wall right here. It has to be over here. The camera has to be touching the wall. You might have to start putting a 10-second timer and just learn how to auto bracket your shots. So once you press the timer one time, it should take all the shots for you. You got to be able to learn how to figure that out if you're going to keep taking the photos, because sometimes we'll go to these small houses and we still always make them look good, but there's a method to the madness. So going back to this, I'm always going to crop these anyways. So to me, this right here, just making this crop balances the composition a lot more. So if you look at before and you look at again, before, after, you see here, it just looks more balanced, evenly distributed with the vertical lines, the spacing. Remember that I don't only have to quality control your stuff, but I have to do the editor as well. So we all work as a team, we work as a unit. This right here, we already touched base on it, but just so you know, this isn't easy to turn that from here to here. And this is the only photo. If it was a situation where it was like 4 different angles and it all had that, you'd be putting me in a bad spot. So even with this sticker, I have to take that out of 3 photos if it's gonna take me 5 minutes, but I have multiple properties a day. You know, you're not really looking out for me for stuff like this. So remember, it's not just you. You're just a part of a team as well. So we all work as a unit. For this right here, I know again that you're not standing at the back. So if you would have actually had your camera, literally the back of it touching this right here, you can look over and then just see like where your viewfinder is to make sure that you have the composition that you need. And then just push your camera a little bit more back. And if you were to do that, you definitely would have had a broader space. And if you would have pushed it more towards this vertical line to be the anchor on the left, you probably would have made it so that you can see the space here. Remember that when we're developing a tour, you're really showing somebody through the house. So for this property specifically, there's a lot cut off that you can still utilize more space with your camera. So from here we go into the kitchen, and I noticed that, so the right shot is to kind of come over here, and first remember we have to welcome them to the space and then go into the space. Again, I know that it's small, but there's still a way to it. This is the way to do it. Put the camera over here, first welcome them to the space, have this line, this as your middle line, and then you can crop it over here, because since you have the 17 millimeter, again, it's only so wide your focal length would go. First, welcome them into the space, then you can take the picture inside, because if not, everything is just cut off, So we went through that. This is a good example of a more balanced composition. So this is the best composition that I saw in the whole set, and that's because it's perfectly balanced. So you have like your vertical line here, you have your vertical line here, and you have your vertical line here anchoring everything. So you got a line here, a line here, and a line here. It's not too much space on either side that's chunking it over. Here you could have maybe gone a little bit to the right, but this is still evenly distributed overall. This, pretty even, but then when we hit this is not the best. So all I see here is really a door. So what we want to do is the camera has to be touching this, but you got to rotate it this way so that you can get both windows. You can probably crop it to here. So if you would have rotated it to here, you would have had this as your anchoring point, this as your middle point, and then you would have had after the window the crease right here to balance off the composition. So just so you know, regardless, I have to crop these photos to make it more balanced. And so we're putting ourselves at a more disadvantage, because the agent's gonna look at this and be like, what the heck? This is like a zoomed in photo that they're not used to seeing. This is okay, this is pretty good balance. You got your vertical lines here, here, and here. This looks good. This looks okay. This to me was just, I don't even know what room I'm in here. It just kind of seems like the shot has no purpose. I know that you zoomed in, so I'm just trying to figure out what is it that we're showcasing here. Is it just the window? Is it the view? It leaves me a little bit confused. Hallway shots, I love that you get that. This, you could have tilted it just a little bit more and had that camera touching there and rotated the camera this way, and you probably would have made that last vertical line. A little unbalanced. You got to rotate it that way. It's too door heavy. This is too wall heavy on this side. I don't know if this is the alternative room angle to this, but regardless, you got to push the camera all the way to the wall. This one's cropped still too. This bathroom, I don't even get to see a picture of what it actually looks like. So we need a picture, the camera touching, rotating. That way, instead of this, because this is already in the bathroom, this looks like you're already in here, or you're zooming in. Yeah, 19 millimeter. This has to be 17 millimeter. Like, you're not really showing anything here. You're cutting everything off. So people don't know what it looks like. Didn't even notice that this was blurry. Glad I saw it now. This angle, remember, we don't really need these angles right here that you keep getting, especially for these smaller houses. For this property, this outside shot, I don't know if the neighbors had a bunch of stuff and that's why you zoomed in, but still decent. But remember, the yard is big, so I'm glad that you got this, because this is gonna be one of the selling points. So overall, you gotta push your camera. You gotta push your camera further back to maximize your space, and you got to start utilizing the corners and literally touching your camera to the back of the wall so that you can get the most space and that the tour makes sense. Please be aware when you're at the shoots of your compositions, what's in the background. Look at your shoots, make sure that nothing's in the back, and just ask yourself, is this adding to my shot or is this taking away from my shot? So let's make some improvements literally starting tomorrow, and we'll go from there.